Scientists and experts in Singapore are working with counterparts from 50 other countries to develop a global DNA database that can help hospitals identify diseases faster and more accurately.
And experts who are gathered for a 4-day conference here say that with such a system, countries can also better control human and animal diseases. And the comment comes on the back of several food poisoning cases in Singapore.
And with the global increase in air travel, experts say the database can also be useful in monitoring and controlling the spread of infectious diseases.
And for more on the disease DNA database, we're joined by NTU's Professor Jürgen Schlund. Prof, thanks very much for joining us this evening. So you quite nicely captured the essence of this database just now, calling it a kind of repository of fingerprints,
yes,
so to speak. We know that this will contain all DNA sequences of all microorganisms. Just break it down for us. What does this mean for us, really?
So, in the end, you will end up with something that will give us a totally new way of understanding microorganisms, so bacteria, virus, and so on. So, the last 150 years, we've been using a method that was developed by Pasteur in 1872. That's the guy we called pasteurization after. So he was the first guy to do that. We've been doing microbiology with his methods for 150 years. Now we are going to the next generation, which is that we understand the genome instead, so the DNA in the microorganism. They have DNA just like us. So you can sequence that now with this new methodology. It's much faster, it's much more correct, and it gives, like you say, a fingerprint. So it means that we can immediately find out if the bacteria in the patient is linked to the chicken or to the cow or to the salad or what it's linked to, because of the fingerprinting technique.
Okay, so the database is important for us to understand that. But how do we grow this database that you have?
Yeah, that's a very important thing. And so it's not like a database that we have. Actually, there are databases now. There's a big one in the US, big one in Europe, big one in Japan, and they are linked together, but they are not active database. What we are suggesting, the researchers that are meeting here in Singapore these 3-4 days, we are suggesting that we should have an active database, not a passive database. It's not just a library, but an active one, so that if I have a new microorganism, I do the sequencing, I upload it to the database, and then I get an answer back. So it has to be active. So that is not existing yet. So what we are suggesting is we should discuss that. And we, meaning not only the nerds and the scientists, but the political level have to discuss this. Because if we don't get agreement between countries that we want to do this, then it's not going to happen.
So bring us back to the context for this database. I mean, we're seeing viruses come out left, right, and center. We're seeing new outbreaks, emerge. Does this take on more urgency then, do you think?
Yeah, I think that many countries, ever since, SARS and avian flu, and also human flu, pig flu, there was a lot of discussion between countries saying, okay, but there is an urgency because we see these global threats, and the only way that you can really deal with global threats is you work together between the different countries, and you have a system so you can compare if the avian flu in Singapore is the same as the one in Copenhagen, or it's a different one. So when we have this methodology, we're saying we should really use it in a global way, because that would be good for the world, but it would also be good for all countries, including, by the way, developing countries. And we have a lot of people from developing countries at this meeting here, supported by WHO and FAO, the World Health Organization, and Food and Agriculture Organization.
Congratulations.
Well, what about the interview?
That was it.
I got it.
Of course you got it.
And that's the way it was. Each day I would dispose of as much loose skin, fingernails, and hair as possible to limit how much of my invalid self I would leave in the valid world. the same time, Eugene prepared samples of his own superior body matter so that I might pass for him. Customized urine pouches for the frequent substance tests, fingertip blood sachets for security checks, and vials filled with other traces. While Eugene supplied me with a new identity, I paid the rent and kept him in the style to which he'd become accustomed. Eugene never suffered from the routine discrimination of a utero, a faith birth, or invalid, as we were called. A valid, a vitro, a made man. He suffered under a different burden, the burden of perfection. I was now a member of a relatively new and particularly detested segment of society. One of those who refuses to play the hand that he was dealt. I am most commonly known as a borrowed ladder, or a degenerate.
Hey Siri, do I have coronavirus?
A few questions can help you understand your situation. Ready to begin?
More and more tech companies are stepping up to fight the virus, from wearables to contact tracing to developing at-home kits. Of course, these inventions do not replace safety precautions, nor are they intended to be a fix-all, but technology can make a difference in combating the virus spread. For one, Apple and Google are teaming up to build a contact tracing feature for their phones, which would use Bluetooth to track physical proximity between phones, and hence their users. This would all be on an opt-in basis. So if you're one of the users who tested positive for COVID-19, you could report it through the app, and then users who were in recent contact with you would get a notification. Before you scream concerns of privacy and practicality, the tech giants are working on that, with a beta version available for developers now. Besides contact tracing, Apple is also offering resources to screen your symptoms through its website or through Siri.
Do you have any of the following? Fever, dry cough, or trouble breathing?
But if you're not in the Apple ecosystem and own an Amazon Alexa product,
if you think you have COVID-19, I can ask you a few questions based on CDC guidelines.
You can also ask the voice assistant to play a song for 20 seconds while you wash your hands.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
You get the point. Along with the collection of screening services, there's also been a rise in maps and dashboards. Facebook released a map of people in the United States who have reported COVID-19 symptoms. The data is from surveying more than 1 million anonymous participants, and the map breaks it down by each county. Facebook and Google also developed mobility dashboards, showing how movement has changed in places like supermarkets and transit stations. Wearables have also become popular for earlier health detection. More than 2,000 healthcare workers at the University of California, San Francisco campus have received an Aura Smart Ring. This ring has technology to track changes in body temperature, heart rate, and sleep. The goal is to identify frontline healthcare professionals who may be infected before they become symptomatic. Eventually, researchers hope to gather enough data to develop an algorithm for COVID-19 detection. Artificial intelligence is also assisting frontline healthcare workers. Technology giant Alibaba is using AI to speed up the process of analyzing CT scans. This process normally takes up to 15 minutes. Alibaba says the AI shortens it to a max of about 10 seconds, and in mid-March said it had already analyzed over 240,000 CT scans while maintaining a 96% accuracy rate. This technology has been tested in hospitals in China, and Alibaba hopes to expand its usage to Europe. 23andMe is also conducting research of its own, a genetic study, of course. Its goal is to obtain over 1 million responses and analyze genetic factors that might be associated with COVID-19, to understand why some experience more severe symptoms than others. This research will also consider non-genetic factors like age, obesity, pregnancy, and prior exposure. Other tests that will slowly come to the market are at-home kits. Everlywell has been doing at-home kits for many health concerns, from fertility tests to allergy tests to HIV tests. Its latest COVID-19 at-home test is not yet available to the general public, but it is working with the FDA to meet guidelines, and is offering bulk order options to hospitals and healthcare providers. The way these at-home tests would work is you take an online questionnaire to see if you qualify to receive a kit. Once approved, this $135 kit will be mailed to you. Within 48 hours of the lab getting your sample, you'll get your results digitally. If the results are positive, there's telehealth available to inform you on next steps. There are many more companies making big and small steps to fight COVID-19, and we will continue to see more in the future.
Good day. I'm here on congress.gov checking out the text for HR 6666, the 116th Congress. Since so many of these bills get passed without any of us really seeing what is said, I just wanted to go over and read this in full length for you all so you understand what this means, okay? So this is a bill called COVID-19 Testing, Reaching, and Contacting Everyone Act, TRACE, okay? So I'm going to just pull up the PDF here. To authorize the Secretary of Health and Human Services to award grants to eligible entities to conduct diagnostic testing for COVID-19, so DNA testing, and related activities such as contact tracing through mobile health units and, as necessary, and here's where it gets creepy, individuals' residences, okay? So the bill. To authorize the Secretary of Health and Human Services to award grants to eligible entities to conduct diagnostic testing for COVID-19, in health units, mobile health units, or in their individual residences. 1, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. This act may be cited as the COVID-19 Testing, Reaching, and Contacting Everyone TRACE Act. In general, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, acting through the Director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, may award grants to eligible entities to conduct diagnostic testing for COVID-19 to trace and monitor the contacts of infected individuals and to support the quarantine of such contacts through either a mobile health unit and or, as necessary, testing individuals and providing individuals with services related to testing and quarantining at their residences. Okay? So, permissible uses of funds. A grant recipient under this section may use the grant funds in support of the activities described in subsection A. 1, to hire, train, compensate, and pay the expenses of individuals, and to purchase personal protective equipment and other supplies. Priority in selecting grant recipients under this section, the Secretary shall give priority to applicants proposing to conduct activities funded under this section in hotspots and medically underserved communities. Okay, so poor people, medically underserved communities, that's poor. That's a poor area. And hotspots would be the areas where they are already overpopulated and they do not have enough nurses, doctors, staff ratio to patients. Okay? So the most underprivileged people and the most overcrowded regions are where they're going to attack first. I want you to know HR 6666 is an attack on the American people.
A mundane business meeting at a Singapore hotel last month became an event that took the coronavirus global. Now the hunt is on to find who carried the disease to a meeting for a company that sells gas meters. The people there then spread it to 6 countries and infected over 12 people. Experts say finding this so-called patient zero is critical for tracking down those exposed to the virus and stopping it.
So this is about contact tracing. We do feel uncomfortable, obviously, when we diagnose a patient with the illness and we can't work out where it came from. So therefore, the containment activities are less effective.
Fisher compares the hotel meeting to another so-called super spreading event at a Hong Kong hotel in 2003. But while the WHO has opened an investigation into the Singapore incident, it says it's way too early to tell if it's a super spreading event too. Management at the hotel say they cleaned extensively and were monitoring staff and guests for infection, but did not know how, where, or when conference attendees were infected. The gas meter company says it immediately responded with self-isolation for all 109 attendees. 94 of them were from overseas and had left Singapore. but the virus kept spreading. One attendee from the UK headed to a French ski resort where 5 people fell ill. Another linked case then emerged in Spain. When the British delegate went home to the south of England, the virus gained further ground.
Applicants that agree in hiring individuals to carry out activities funded under this section to hire residents of the area, so your neighbors, or community where the activities will primarily occur, with higher priority among applicants described in this paragraph, given based on the percentage of individuals to be hired from such an area or community. Distribution. In selecting grant recipients under this section, the Secretary shall ensure that grants are distributed across urban and rural areas. Federal privacy requirements. Nothing in this section shall be construed to supersede any federal privacy or confidentiality requirement, including the regulations promulgated under Section 264C of the Health Insurance Probability and Accountability Act of 1996 and Section 543 of the Public Health Service Act. Definitions in this section. The term eligible entity will mean a federally qualified health center, and they define these federally qualified health centers later on as we go down, as defined in Section 1861. A school-based health clinic, a disproportionate share hospital as defined under the applicable state plan under the title, an academic medical center, a nonprofit organization, and that includes churches. So churches, schools are going to be these testing facilities, a higher institution of higher education, colleges, a high schools and elementary schools, any other type of entity that is determined by the Secretary to be an eligible entity for purpose of this section. The term emergency period has the meaning given to that term in Section 1135. So, I mean, they cite a bunch of stuff that you have to go look up anyway to even figure out what they're talking about here. The term hotspot means a geographic area where the rate of infection with the virus that causes COVID-19 exceeds the national average. The term medically underserved community, it says, has the meaning given to that term in Section 799B of the Public Health Service Act, which I already told you medically underserved community means poor folks. The term secretary means the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and such sums as may be necessary for each of fiscal year 2021 and any subsequent fiscal year during which the emergency period continues. According to this, they don't see it ever stopping where they're going to be entering our houses and sticking us in school buildings and other places to test us. People, I know it's not going to calm down. It's not going to calm down. People are going to get angry. People realize what's going on. America, the United States of America, you need to look very closely within the book of Revelation and read about the whore of Babylon. And then you'll understand why America is not going to consent to this. And then you are going to understand that there will be an uprising in the United States. And then you will understand that we will come to ruin in this country. This is a choice right now, people. And I'm pretty sure, because myself and others have prayed a lot for Americans to wake up. Myself is not excluded from that. I and myself have spent a lot of my time asleep in this world that we're living in. However, what is something that could bring the rest of the world into complete submission to the beast system? Perhaps maybe if they watch the destruction of the United States of America on the evening news in their home country? People really need to think about this and the implications of what it could mean. I don't see things happening in this country because I see the people not consenting. So, you know, they can put 666 in front of our face as much as they want, but are people really going to believe when we say to them that this is the mark of the beast?
These technology leaps are going to yield incredible miracles and incredible horrors.
we created it. So I think as we move forward, this intelligence will contain parts of us. And I think the question is, will it contain the good parts or the bad parts?
But the thing that's most dangerous is, and it's the hardest to kind of wrap, kind of get your arms around because it's not a physical thing, is kind of a deep intelligence in the network.
Rita, come on in here for a second. Rita spends all her time down here and tells us that the spirit of a woman has attached itself to her, but it's how they communicate that absolutely blows me away.
You're not gonna believe me.
Really?
She was talking to me through my cell phone.
What?
I was sitting here and she was mad at me that I couldn't see her. So she texted me, "You're looking right at me, why can't you see me?" I answered.
Are you kidding me right now?
Mm-mm.
This is serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I said, I'm sorry, I can feel you, but I really can't see you.
Did you try calling the number?
Yeah.
What happened?
That's the sound.
Macy was saying that whole thing with the phone and a voice calling her, and it would give you static.
Hi, it's me.
Now we have two bizarre instances of communication through telephones here. A cell phone and a landline, suggesting that spirits can tap into any kind of electromagnetic waves, which is exactly what they're doing with our devices like the Ovilus, the Paranormal Puck 2, and the Spirit Box. This is an amazing connection scientifically to how our dimensions are interacting.
Introducing Droid DNA by HTC. It's not an upgrade to your phone, it's an upgrade to yourself.
We will soon be facing the greatest threat mankind has ever known, as we are feeding and nurturing the monster of our own destruction.
On the left, you see the double duplex helix DNA. Every man and woman born the correct way has double helix DNA. That includes 44 base pairs, or 44 autosomes, what you call them. The 45th and 46 are an X and a Y, which determine the sex of a human being, so that the makeup of A human being now is 46 chromosomes total, but base pairs is what we're dealing with. On the right is what they're trying to do, the elite are trying to do, is develop and add another 22 strands of nanotechnology to the double helix to form a triple helix, to be controlled right through the middle of that double helix DNA. They want to add that. So also, to get to 666, you have to calculate it and count it. Every scripture revolving around the mark of the beast has to be calculated, has to be counted, and it says, let the reader understand. So it's not going to be just a 666 stamp on a t-shirt somewhere or on an RFID chip. It's way deeper than that of what I'm talking and what I'm showing you. Is you have to calculate. So 322. And I've told you how the elites do math. They look at things differently. They're taught things differently with numbers, symbols, all of that. 322. 3 times 22 is 66. 6 times 6, 36. 3 sixes, 36. 3 6. 666. That's it. You have to calculate it. You have to count it. And this is the abomination that's put in the temple. Once you figure out where the temple is, it's not a building over in Israel. God does not dwell in a physical building. That is scriptural, Christians, or anybody. If you understand that about the Creator, we are the temple. And once you understand what the enemy is up to and they're after, then it all comes together of why the chemtrails in the sky, why genetically modified food. Everything that they're doing is killing us slowly, making us obsolete, an obsolete man. So let me read this, Matthew 24:16. So when you see standing in the holy place, where's the holy place? That's the key. Where's the holy place? Is it a building? Is it somewhere? No. We are the holy place. We are the temple. So when you see standing in the holy place, the abomination of desolation. Desolation means it cannot dwell there anymore. It can't go there. Described by the prophet Daniel. Notice it says, let the reader understand. So this means it's not going to be that easy. It's let the reader understand what the prophet Daniel said about this right here. So let's go to Daniel 2:4-3. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Notice that. Something is mixing with men. So whatever's mixing is not man-made. Okay? So iron, I've said this before, followed me for years. Iron is technology. Clay is from God. Clay, flesh. Iron and clay. There's a kingdom coming that will not cleave together. Alright? That's the key of what's coming. You need to find out and know what is the illusion and what is real. Is the iron and clay kingdom is man merging with machine, because the machine and the technology is not from God. It's from the fallen. It's from nothing godly. It is the wrong information, good and evil being mixed together. See, some of these illusions, it's hard for people to believe them because they just can't wrap their heads around that conspiracy theories are not theories anymore. I'm going to share something with you and then you decide, and I'll connect the dots, and you tell me if it's just a coincidence. Look up adrenochrome. Adrenochrome, ADRENOCHROME. It's an hallucinant drug suspected to have been used in Project MK Ultra. Does that sound familiar to any of you? Mind control for years and years out there. This drug is the basis of what they use for mind control. It's also hypothesized to play a role in the development of schizophrenia in adults, multiple personalities. Okay, now let me connect a dot. Did you know in 2008 Google, they rolled out Chrome, their browser, But then later, 2009, they purchased a GPU, which is the graphics processing unit, and they renamed it Adreno. So put that together. Their CPUs that they're using in their machines are the GPU, Adreno, and their browser is Chrome. Adreno Chrome. You think that's a coincidence? Mind control. Things that they recommend, things they send out to you, whatever. It's a form of mind control. Adreno Chrome.
What if I told you I could offer you something that would enable you to walk again? I call it STEM, a computer chip that has the potential to change everything. It's a new, better brain. Oh my God.
I am STEM, the system operating your body for you.
Can anybody else hear you?
No, only you. May I point something out? In the drone surveillance footage, Sir Brantner, Marine Corps, address 414 Citrus, Newground. You'll need a plan.
I got this.
This doesn't seem like a well thought out plan. I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
Well, there you go. There is a trailer from 2018 of a movie called Upgrade. It's the same old thing repeated. A promise to live forever, but in the end, it's all about control. It's all around us, asking us to upgrade, move forward. It's keep your eyes open.
I truly believe that my God, our God, would not hide these things from us. He would make it obvious, okay? And so they are forced to make it obvious for our protection. So please pay attention to patents with the number 666 in them and vaccines containing luciferase. We need to pay attention. It's not a joke. And the Bible tells a lot about the mockers and the scoffers in the last days. They are going to make fun of us. They were going to ridicule us. Well, I don't even know what to say at this point. I'm praying for all of us. I love everyone, and I want the best for all of us in this situation. So just pay attention. God bless.